Dun, 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 dun. It's Friday, August the 26th, 2022. Boys and girls, ladies and gents, welcome back. Glad you made it. It's another social production. Doing it. The end of the work week. The end of the week, baby. The weekend is upon us. Oh, man. Sip, sip to the gang. Sip, sip to the crew. Thank you, everybody who's been with me from the get-go. If you're just joining me today, buckle up, buckle down. We're going to have some fun. We talk about everything and nothing. The silly, the serious, the nonsensical, the absurd, the mundane, the profane, the sacred. Oh, the nitty-gritty. All of it. You bet your bottom dollar. Yes, that's what we do around here. We have some fun. We tackle this, that, and the other. And then we move along. And we have some fun doing it too. Boys and girls, ladies and gents, where can you find these videos? You're asking. If you're just joining me today, on Instagram, on YouTube, and on Patreon. Support the cause, support the show if you like, by watching, by talking about it, by spreading rumors. Like, have you heard of that show? Glad you made it. Yeah. Go for it. Check it out. Talk about it. But let's get right into it. Boys feeling good. And, I'll tell you what happened, man. I'll tell you, we'll get into different stories and different topics that I want to discuss today. But one thing that I wanted to start off with was, man, out there yesterday for my walk, as I normally go for my daily walks, I have a regular path that and then I sometimes divert from that. Sometimes I'll stick to it. But initially, there's a little pathway that's close by my place. It's covered by greenery, little pathway. You can get there if you like. If you want to spark a J and a little bit of privacy, you could do that. It's like a little corridor, if you will. And on both sides of this corridor, this little pathway, there are bushes, there are trees. You can't see anything. It's lovely. It's nice. Leads to a beautiful park, and so on and so forth. But sometimes, I'll go in the park, or sometimes I'll walk the streets. But nonetheless, this little corridor, this little pathway is one of my favorite parts. And I was just out there, and it's the beginning of the walk, like literally minute 1 or 2 into the walk. It's roughly maybe, a couple hundred feet away from my place. So I get out there and I start my walk, and I turn into the corridor as I normally do, and I go and reach in my pocket to grab my little J, spark a J, go for a little walk, do a little bit of thinking, do a little bit of cooking upstairs. And as I'm about to do that, I reach into my pocket, I grab my J, I put it in my mouth, and I was about to light it. I noticed right across from me, maybe 200 feet away from me, if I were to estimate. That's how long the corridor is, that little pathway. I saw a beautiful lady who had just made her turn into that little corridor, the little pathway, and we were mimicking each other's movement for a second. It seemed like it. So she's taking out her little J, and she's sparking up a light, which was lovely. And we both kept on walking towards one another. And in my mind, I'm like, man, this is weird, but I like it. What is this? Different thoughts go off in your mind, Cool interaction. Yeah, my female version. Or initial thoughts, right? You're like, oh, soulmate? No. Thoughts go places. Female doppelganger? Maybe. Never know till you find out. And then we both kept on walking. And as soon as we got close, I couldn't help myself. I said, what did I say? It made me laugh, and that's what I said. I'm like, this makes me laugh. As she was passing by, I'm like, this makes me laugh, because we simultaneously lit up, and it looked pretty funny. You had to be there, but I'm trying to explain it to you as best as I can. But she smiled, she laughed, twirling her hair. She's like, yeah, that's what I thought too. It's like I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, oh my god. Oh, heartstrings starting to be pulled. Oh, somebody's pulling on the heartstrings. Not intentionally, not unintentionally, but nonetheless, pulling, pushing. Feelings. Butterflies. Out there and in here. And that was it. I just smiled, said my little comment. She said yes, she thought so too as well. It looked like we were both mirroring each other, which was nice. We both laughed. I wished her a great walk. and a great day, and I was on my way, and she smiled and said thank you, and she went her way, and it was just nice. But then I started to walk away, and I'm like, was that, because that's I go for my walks, and that's when I, think about stuff. Sometimes it's not thinking about anything. Sometimes just listening to music, decompress. But it's all just, I'm not going out there, seeking anything. But this was out of the blue, and it just like, yeah, it looked, man, it looked really cool. Like the shot from above would have been really cool if somebody caught that, like both of us coming into the corridor from opposite ends and like lighting up at the same time, and then lifting our heads to notice each other and come across, and that was pretty cool. It felt like a little vibe was going on. And I was like, I didn't want to act on it or anything, because it's, first of all, I wasn't looking for that. But at the same rate, man, once you feel something, once you see something, say something, fam. That's what it is. So then I was walking around, I'm like, man, should I have maybe ask her out? Should I have maybe, take the, just converse a little bit more, see what happens? I don't know. Then I'm like, it's too late already. It's too late now. Can't go back. Be weird to go back. So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna go back, but I'm gonna continue on walking. And I thought about it. I'm like, oh man, was this, you never know. I'm not out there looking for anything, but my heart and my mind, they're open to possibilities. I'm like, man, what if I would have asked her out? What would have happened? I'm like, well, you didn't. I was kind of kicking myself for it. I'm like, oh, you should have, because it seemed like you were vibing for a second. I'm like, okay, you know what? If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Go ahead, go on your walk, and on your way back, come back to the same corridor, same pathway. If by chance, if by quinkydink, she's walking back on her way back, if that's her way back, maybe you'll bump into her again. If you see her again, ask her out. That was my guff, because I was a little bit, I'm like, man, it felt like good vibes from both ends. Should have probably asked her out. So I go for my walk, I come back. This is roughly maybe 45 minutes to an hour later now. I'm walking back. Get to the corridor, get to the pathway. She's coming back. She's right there. She's right there, dude. What are the chances? Because I had no idea. This is the first time I'm meeting this lady out in space, in open space. I don't know, or maybe she was already going to wherever she was going. What are the odds of her coming? Like, not, probably living in the same neighborhood, but what are the odds of catching somebody at the same time, coming back 45 minutes to an hour? Who knows? Maybe she could have gone for a longer walk. Maybe she could have gone for a shorter walk. Maybe she had a bike somewhere else and she hopped on. She could have been canoeing after her walk. You know what I mean? All the possibilities. She might have walked to the park where she parked her car, got into the car, and drove off to God knows where. But no, was it fate? Was it destiny? Were the gods at work? Or was it just regular coincidence? I don't know, but I saw her and I'm like, oh, I was kind of not expecting it. It's one of those long shots where you're like, yeah, if I run into her again, knowing you probably won't, or feeling like you probably won't. And I'm like, yeah, if I run into her again, felt like a vibe, maybe I'll ask her out. So I did run into her again, and man, this is the fun part. What happened? Build suspense. That's what happened. Give me a second. We could have had a wild night. We could have had many wild nights, many mild nights as well, many low-key nights. All that could have happened had she not been already taken by some dude, some lucky fella. Because that's what it is. I ran into her again. I'm like, oh man, I know this. I don't normally do this, but it felt like a thing that I should do. I'm like, would you like to grab a cup of coffee sometime, if that's a thing, if you're single, that is. And she laughed and smiled and said thank you, but I'm seeing someone. And that's when I went into a nonchalant throwing, just hands are going up in the air. Oh, me, yeah, of course, yes, of course. I just and like thanked her for her time. And her being very kind and nice to even, that's what it is. Very respectful, very, no harm, no foul, no feelings were hurt in the making of this video. Of course not. Just put yourself out there, all raw and vulnerable, and you know, that's life. But she's seeing someone. So that's, yeah. So you know, I respect it, of course, and yeah. So that was, you know, you get a little note, and we could, man. So that's, you know what I mean? Good times, good times, man. Oh, that's the thing on, like, you know, on the male side of things, you know, it's, you got to put yourself out there, and you typically it's the males that do the seeking. You don't, you know, at least in adult world, and when you're young and run around, everybody's just, you know, more loose. Everybody's just more, you know, but like as you grow older and your social circles become smaller and smaller, and you adult, as you typically do, it becomes the task of a man to go out there, and sure, that's fine. We'll do it gladly. We'll do it, of course. But there is that moment of just, you're just putting yourself out there, dude. I was out there. I put myself out there. Do I regret it? Not one bit. Not one bit. Do I wish she was single? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, definitely. But hey, that's what it is. You gotta, you know, you gotta knock on a door to see if this is that even a door? Is it painted on? Is there anybody residing in this building? What are we talking about? Multiple units? Residential or commercial? What's going on? Inquire within. That's the way to go. But that's, you know, I wanted to do that, and like, I'm glad that I did it, because, you know, it's different than when you're single and you're, I guess, dating. When I'm not even, you know, I don't put too much time or effort into it to like seek, and because mostly it's the life of you know, pursuing comedy, baby. That's where my priority's at right now. Until the, you know, but nonetheless, again, mind, heart open. So yeah, it's different than online dating. It's different than on the apps, because on the apps there's that, you know, you got buffer zone. You got there's a space between you. You know, you don't see the, send a question, you say something, you know, and there is no immediate interaction. But like when you're in the flesh, when you're raw, vulnerable out there, putting your heart out there, and you're exposing all the mush, and it's just, yeah, you see it, just, that's you know, that's your heart right there in real life, just in different formats, different degrees. Of course, these are just initial steps, so no big deal, but you know what I'm talking about. Matters of the heart, matters of the fart. That's what it is, baby. So put yourselves out there, essentially, is what I'm telling you. If you're, you know, maybe you're in the same boat, maybe you're single, put yourself out there. Maybe you're happily in a relationship. Kudos to you. Good for you. Happy for you. Seriously, I am, though. It's nice. Relations are nice, but it is different than online, because online you got the buffer zone, you got the, you know, online is different, because I like the real interaction, because you see the person for who they are. It's not like I'm not looking at a picture of you, you know, petting animals. You'll see this very typical on dating apps, online dating. You know, somebody is always petting an animal, and to show an image that they're into animals, potentially, you know, could be read different. Is it animal lover, bestiality? I don't know what kind of message everybody's trying to send out here. I'm just gonna go, you know, I'm somewhere in between, dude. You know me. But reg animals I can deal with. You know, typical animals you'll see online profiles. There's the cats. You know, cats, dogs, fish. People fishing, dogs, people fishing for dogs and cats. You'll see ladies on a boat holding a cat, you know, me and my cat. Here's me and my puss, right there, right in your face. You'll see, every once in a while, you'll see, you know, people are in nature most often in their online profiles. They're in nature, somewhere in nature, being bounty, being, what was that? I want to say being bounty, but I don't know whatever that noise was not bounty. But being in nature, being, one with the earth, being there. Sometimes you'll see profiles of people eating. Oh, this is me and my favorite dish. You'll never see me without this dish. Or that this is my favorite drink, is what they'll say through that image, So you get images, and most often they're highlighting the highlights, and they look really good, and it's like, nonchalantly somebody's, in the here's me, mountain climbing in Peru, hanging out. Who took that? How'd you get your hanging off a cliff in Peru? We've already lost a couple of Sherpas, and you have that picture, but you like mountain climbing. I get it. I love that. But in real life, real life is real life. You see what you get what you see, more or less. It's not a still image of like, oh, this is me hand gliding. This is me skydiving. You know me. It's sushi, skydiving, and rubbing pets. Not in that order, not in that, and you can mix and match it. You can rub a sushi, I don't know, start nibbling on your skydiving instructor's ear, you being you. But but in real life, you get to, I like that element of surprise, that element of, oh, this is an in-person interaction and everything. That's like you're playing. When you're out there in the real world, when you're doing it in all the dimensions, anything goes, really. And in terms of questions, responses, reactions, and that's how they did. That's the classic way. That's how they did it back in the day. That's how people used to, man. Yeah, if like go back hundreds of thousands, millions of years ago, people start off probably in the same area, local bush, local cave. You'd had to interact in person, and then later on we started to build cities and what have you. We got the tech, people got distance between them, writing letters, finding birds, attaching it to the bird, sending it off in hopes of it finding your, person of interest, and hoping that they get a letter, hoping that they have access to a bird, a reliable bird, so they can write back. And it was a whole thing. And yeah, so balance is good. I do appreciate the in-person. I've not dabbled in it lately too much. Not at all, actually. That was the first time in a good while that I can recall in person. And what did I learn? Man, it's like playing instant love roulette, dude, because you're just putting it in there, rolling with it, and hoping for the best. And but there's, again, no barrier to, because if you get, online, you can ask somebody out. It could be yes, no, it doesn't matter, but there's no, like, they don't see you, being yeah, because you got to be like, oh yeah, like, and genuinely you are cool with it, but like oh man, I see why. I can see why. There's definitely pros and cons to both. But that's what it is. We live in an age of mixing and matching. It's the combination of the onlines and the real worlds, which are one and the same as a whole together. So it's nice to do all of the above, and putting yourself out there, it's important. I recommend you do it if you are in that position. Don't be afraid. One no here, one no there. Next thing you know, another no. But a couple of no's after that. Who knows? Maybe another no after that. But then eventually you'll come across somebody that'll be like, no, still, maybe, nah. But 11, 12, this 13th time is the charm, they say. You know what I mean? It's putting yourself out there essentially that matters, and we did it. Felt good, it felt nice. Doesn't matter what the answer was. The important fact is that you put yourself out there. You put your little heart out there, lady, fella, and be open. Matters of the heart. But it's, you know, it's good times, because I do genuinely, like, man, that's the thing too. One, there's a sense of relief, because again, I'm not like looking for anything to, like, again, my mind and heart open, but I really appreciate this single life, because it does allow me a lot of me time, which requires a lot of work time, so that I could, you know, do what I does. But it is what it is. It's life. It's beautiful. I'm enjoying every moment of it. And yeah, that was a little something that I wanted to share with you. But that's just, you know, enough of the personal stuff. Enough with the mushy, gushy, squishy stuff. Let's get into some of the stuff that's been happening in and around the world, because we live in fascinating times. Different stuff are taking place. I'll try to remember as many of them as I can. We'll go through a bunch and just have fun with it. We'll get loose with it, because that's what we do around here. We have fun and we get loose. So, I can't remember, maybe a few episodes ago, I can't remember exactly when, I made a little joke or a little remark in regards to people who own snakes as pets, and how I feel about that. If you own a snake as a pet, you know how I feel about that. You can go, man, I like you as a person, dude, lady, but, you know, don't come near me with that stuff. Because what happens when you have snakes as pets? I'm not saying, you know, that's, man, that is you're something else, man. Because I saw a little article in Hampshire, in the UK, in Southampton, if I'm not mistaken. An 18-foot python went loose, and it crawled into someone's someone's house, their second floor. The window was open. This bad boy just crawled 18 feet, dude. 18 feet is... That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking, because you get it as a little baby, you're like, oh, it's so cute, it's a little tiny, little, oh, it's a little tiny, it's so cute, it's a little snake, yeah. The next thing, they grow bigger and bigger and bigger until they're 18 feet long, and 18 feet long, dude, and it's just, what do you do with that? What are you feeding that thing? Oh man. So yeah, poor household had to, you know, find an 18-foot long python in their upstairs bedroom. Thank God. I don't think anybody got hurt. I didn't read too much of the deets, but just the fact of 18 feet, dude, that is a lot of snake. Oh man, if I were to wake up to this is what I mean. And like, not to say, you know, I respect everybody doing their thing. Put a lock on it, put 2 locks. I don't know how it works, but like, that's the thing, dude. If I see a snake in my house, I am straight up run into the kitchen, grabbing a knife, and I don't care if it's your pet. I don't like. I'm not gonna stop and like Google it whether or not it's venomous, whether or not it's sick. 18 feet. If that thing gets a hold of you, oh man. I don't know, how well trained is it? Maybe it could, like, if that's the thing, if you train them well, maybe it could feel like a weighted blanket sort of thing, maybe comforting at first. But that's the thing. They're animals. They're snakes. They're cold-blooded. They don't care. They don't. I'm pretty sure they don't. Pretty sure they don't. You're like, no, snakes are loving animals. All animals are loving, and they're setting and set. It's all about set and setting. Okay? Don't be bringing large snakes into your homes. Because that's the thing. Regular sized people could potentially fight them off. But what if a baby? What if a little baby was just left on the table, where babies are left while you go do whatever it is that you're doing, leaving your baby on the table in his or her bedroom, and a giant snake crawls in and starts to eat the baby, and there you go. There you go. Now you come back, there's an outline of your baby inside the snake. Mama. Oh, you're gonna get your baby out because it's your baby, but they're gonna be probably covered in all sorts of disgusting fluids and stuff. And you're gonna, I hope that, oh man, whether it's a baby, a young person, a smaller elder that might be that, or just like, regular, if you're sleeping, if it's 18 feet, I could eat a regular sized human too, probably. 18 feet, I don't see why not. So, that can happen. And also, it's just, man, that's what it is, man. That's life. That's snakes and ladders for you. But stick with the classics. Stick with the classics. What happened to the good old-fashioned cats and dogs, dude? And really, if we're being 100% honest, that's dogs, okay? If we're being 100%, if an animal was meant to be kept as dogs, okay? Everything else, you're just, we get it. I get it. You're the snake guy. You're the snake lady. Just hissing all day, you and your snake, making it uber comfortable for everybody else around you. Love it. Man, but that's snakes, man. That is snakes, and that is people. Another wonderful little piece of news that I saw that I wanted to share with you guys that I thought was interesting, a little bit funny, a little bit, certain parallels could be probably drawn in different ways, maybe not. There was a video online surfaced recently. There's a factory worker in China. It's a factory, he's working in a factory. This fella, this beautiful gentleman. The factory happens to make foam that is infused with butane, which makes it highly flammable foam. Giant, I don't know what they use it for, but giant foam, large quantities of foam infused with butane, which makes it again highly flammable. And there's a CCTV image of this beautiful fella. That's closed circuit for those of you who don't know. Unlike the popular open circuit. Is there an open circuit? What's the other? CCTV is closed circuit. OCTV, obsessive compulsive TV. That's what it is. So, image of this fella who was curious, who's just, here's the thing, you'll see the image. He's in he's wearing basketball shorts of sorts, and loose vibes of this factory. No shirt, shirtless, in a foam factory. And the foams are infused with butane, and this fella's curious. He's like, how flammable is it? And he goes up to the foams and he does something. I can't really tell by the video, but he does like this. He gets close to the flammable foam filled with butane. Whispers a little something in the ear of the foam, or scratches a little. It does something, and it immediately sparks, and a fire breaks out in a matter of seconds, and the entire factory catches on fire, and it just span. I don't know if he ran off, I don't know if he was okay, I don't know if anybody got hurt or not, but the whole thing was that's the one thing you're not supposed to do, probably in that particular setting where it's infused with butane. These giant flammable foams infused with butane. What are we making? Flammable objects to create fire. The only thing you're not supposed to do is probably, start fires. To be very careful. But everything about it made me laugh, because he's called a factory worker or a worker or what have you, but he's in shorts, basketball shorts, loose shorts, maybe shoes or sandals, I can't even tell. No shirt, just out there browsing around with these infused foams, and he's fiddling around, he's messing around, and it again catches on fire, and the whole factory catches on fire in an instant. Hopefully no one got hurt, but it's just, man, I don't know what it is, dude. Again, certain parallels can be drawn. It just made me think of yo, this does not, elephant in the room is that maybe just, what I'm trying to say is that, in certain places of the world, maybe have a little bit of, better standards of, better modes of conduct, practice better. I don't even know what I'm trying to say, man. It's just, that you see this, and it just reminded me of, like, I could imagine the same sort of, like, accident. Like, that's, what happens in Wuhan stays in Wuhan. Not so much, dude. You know what I'm saying? It's just, like, it's a little bit of, like, and not to say that those are all the factories and that that happens often in China, but, image of, like, a worker with no shirt, just like, oh, I'm gonna go just play around with these flammable foams that we got over here, see what happens, and then boom, the entire factory's on fire. I would imagine sort of same vibes going off in that, like, Wuhan lab. Or just, like, we're gain of function researching on these bats, just injecting them, zapping them, laser this, laser that, make it better. And, like, you got these bats or whatever, or just, petri dishes filled, I don't know what the deal is, but, like, you got things that are infused with potential hazardous materials, what I'm trying to say, you know what I mean? And somebody's just, after hours, probably just, like, really loose. Let me check out what's going on in this lab over here. What do you got in this petri dish? What's with all the bats? Maybe if I let one out, it'll just, that's the thing. Probably somebody falls over, a little door opens, little hatch opens, little bat flies out, this, that, and the other, and all of a sudden you got 100 bats that are just infused with God knows what, and flying off, and it's just like, well, again, not to say that that's all the I'm pretty sure they've got really good standards and modes of conduct and what have you, but I'm just like, it instantly made me think of that. I'm like, man, this kind of resembles a little bit of, like, whatever you want to call it, negligence, lack of standards, it's just, oh, we're gonna, like, get, I don't know, maybe that's, thoughts that came into my mind. I found it funny. I hope nobody got hurt, but, be careful out there. Good times, good times. Man, oh man, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Friday time. It's Friday time. What else is going on in and around this beautiful world? What else is happening? Give me a second. There's many things that I wanted to talk about. We'll get into as many of them as I can remember. And if I don't remember all of them, we'll talk about some of the other ones next week and the weeks coming after that. I did also briefly think about, if you had the option, you're now stepping away, I guess, briefly, momentarily from fun world events. If you had to choose between the Batmobile versus a James Bond car, which car would you get? Batmobile versus James Bond car. If I had the option between the Batmobile and the James Bond car, I would probably go for the James Bond car, just because, like, feature wise, they can probably have, like, they got different capabilities. My biggest hindrance as to why I would opt out of the Batmobile personally is because with a James Bond car you can have all the bells and whistles, but it can potentially look like a regular car, it's not sticking out like a sore thumb, and that perhaps is a benefit, because you don't want to be like, let's say you're, Batman can't be low key, you know what I mean? That's the thing with Batman. Like, if he wants to, like, just a regular day, he's just, he's got the costume on, but he wants to keep it on the DL. But if you roll up with the Batmobile, and everybody's gonna go, oh, look, it's Batman, it's the Batmobile. And you're like, guys, I'm trying to stay low key today. It is what it, don't make a big thing out of it. And you're trying to keep it cool, calm, and collected. Next thing you know, Robin pulls up and sees the, oh, Batman. And you're like, Robin, not today, dude. Keep it low profile. I'm trying to be cool. But everybody's just like, oh, Batmobile. So, in terms of blending in, that's probably my biggest hindrance. And that's, I don't want to, well, with the James Bond car, you can, like, legit, it could just be whatever. Regular Aston Martin, dude. Everyday car. for the everyday man. Or, you know, a man who works hard. You don't know how hard he works. He's working. Some of them. Okay. Yeah, for that one particular, because like in terms of features, like yeah, you could, they're both, man, but the Batmobile's fucking cool, dude. If you can get over not being, if you can forget about keeping a low profile, then go for the Batmobile. If you want to keep it discreet, then in that particular scenario, you'd want to opt for the Bondmobile, I guess. Which one would you guys and gals choose if you had the option? Man, if I could eat one of the vehicles for the rest of my life, which vehicle would I eat for the rest of my life? Typical classic question. Yeah, utility, practicality, why I would go for the James Bond car over the although the Batmobile's fucking dope, not gonna lie, yeah. Tough choices, but this is what we do. We talk about the difficult topics. We go where others turn around and look for other pathways. We stand our ground. We don't back down. We might get down and boogie, but we'll get right back up and continue on boogieing on forward, baby. You know what it is. Oh yeah. Oh, it's time to get comfortable because it's Friday. It's Friday. Fun fact, fun scientific fact for the gang. From above, viewed from above, the male penis hole may resemble a tiny vagina. Thought I should let everybody know, in case some of you guys and gals out there didn't know. It certainly looks like a tiny vagina to me when you're looking at it from above. You don't have the option of looking at it from below, do you? Not really, no. So that's what it is. I'm just, that's science. That's life being mysterious and showing up in all different forms and shapes and times and places, and like talking about, I guess let's segue smoothly into the next topic if we may. Hey, if we can together. Doppelgangers. Family, syndicate members, doppelgangers, do you believe in them? Are they myth? Are they real? They're not. No, they're real. They're real. There's a thing. What am I talking about? I just read an article recently. Researchers have conducted a little study. It's a tiny study. It's not bulletproof. Doesn't mean that it can be applied to larger samples because it was done on a smaller community. But they found out that apparently most of us have doppelgangers out there, and they're not necessarily related to us, not through bloodline at least, not through, immediate bloodline, that is. That's right, how far does it go? Questions. But yeah, doppelgangers. Most of us apparently have doppelgangers. Some of us, let's say, have doppelgangers out there that are not immediately related to us, and they're out there existing. And scientists did a little bit of research, and they found that we not only share similar physical features, but we actually share similar DNA in the case of the doppelgangers. And that's what I mean by that we, not me and you, but you and your doppelganger and me and my doppelgangers out there. Have you met your doppelganger ever in real life? If you're asking me, not in real life. I think I mentioned this once before. I did find a fellow one time through sheer coincidence online that resembled me, or maybe I resembled him. Which came first? Yeah, I don't know. I saw this fellow. I'm like, whoa, is that a picture of me? And I looked closely, and there was a time where I was younger, shaved head. This fellow also had a shaved head, And yeah, looking at it, I'm like, I was just like, man, I'm looking at myself, looking at me, looking at myself, looking at me, looking at myself. So he was, I think he was in Germany or something. Forget where he was. Not here in Canada, at least. So I couldn't really be like, oh man, let's, I don't know, do something with doppelgangers, you know? Because I've always been curious. Because there's, you know, twins are interesting, doppelgangers are interesting, and if they're, here's the thing, like, it's cool that we share physical features with some people, and you can tell something, like, that's the thing we do. The big question for me is, I guess, are there human archetypes? You know how you have archetypes in personality traits or characters and stories and what? Are there physical and, I guess, are there DNA archetypes? Maybe, I don't know. I'm not a science person. But are there physical archetypes? And by thinking about that, I'm like, okay, are we creating new people? Like, obviously we are. But is there a set number of, let's say, molds, if you will, you know, that get produced through different combinations? And then in the article they discussed how, like, you know, it's both a combination of nurture and nature that assists the, I guess, comeuppance or manifestation of DNA and genetics. So you might even have the same ingredients, but if they're in different localities due to different atmospheric, you know, impacts, they'll probably develop a little bit different and what have you. But I'm just wondering, are there, like, every time we create babies, are we creating a new, unique archetype? Does that make sense? Or are there already pre-existing? Because, like, and you can see that, I guess, with, like, parents and their children. Like, you can be like, oh, I look a little bit like my mom, or I look a little bit like my dad, or a combination of both, or one or the other. And so, like, there's that notion of, like, passing down rather, genes and features and what have you. But it's interesting to see it in people who are not relatively connected to you closely. But that's what it is. Like, going back, it's, man, we're all family, gang, so we are all connected. It's just cool to see that. But I do wonder if there's already, like, a set number of, again, for me, the way I try to understand it, are there molds, you know what I mean? Or, like, we're making 100 of these guys, we're making 1,000 of these, you know, if you mix these things, oh man, that's so cool. Just because that's what it is. Then if there are molds or archetypes, that means you and I have already been here, at least in the physical, like, you know what I mean? Because, like, good thing about, like, now we can keep these records, hopefully, if, you know, if we go on for hundreds of thousands of years without things getting interrupted with the tech that we have now and, like, taking everything in, we can document these and be like, man, and I don't know, hundreds of thousands of years we could be like, yes, we have X number of archetypes. Or we'll find out, no, there are no archetypes, or maybe there are archetypes and then each time there's a development, a little feature either gets added or eliminated depending on it's really fun, dude. It is really neat to think about that. And they were also obviously talking about, like, facial recognition technology and how we thought it'd be performing better than it already is, but apparently it's got glitches in it, these facial recognition technologies, because that's what they use to distinguish whether or not people were as identical as they seem to. Like, would artificial facial recognition be able to ID two people and be like, are those two separate people, or are they identical twins, or are they the same person? And it gets tricky. We're still, you know, it's in the works. It's really fun, but it's not really, you know, I'd say it's 50-50. It's hit or miss, especially with different ethnicities and races. It doesn't do too well. Let's just put it that way. It doesn't do yeah, because it's, I guess, we need more data. But yeah, I wonder if there's, like, you know what I mean? Just like, cranking out people like Play-Doh, you know what I mean? I wish I had access to my doppelganger, because I know there's definitely one guy that I've seen online. I wonder where he's at. I hope you're doing well, buddy. Hope we're doing well, man. I'm doing well. I hope you're doing well. How's your doppelganger doing out there? Do you believe in them? What would you do with, oh man, what would I do with mine if he was down? Oh man, if If you was game, playa, it's Magic City time. It's abracadabra, here, there, everywhere. Magic act, baby. Oh, look at me on stage. Oh, look at me up on the balcony now. While I'm through the trapdoor, doppelgang up there hanging from the balcony all loose. Oh, the crowd's going wild. How they do it? Magic doppelgang. That's all. Man, putting the gang back in doppelganger. Bring it back if it's a thing. Have you met your doppelgangers out there? Did you make them any offers? Did they make you any offers? You know? And it's good to eliminate the initial, if you got a family member or two that have been, ask around first, ask questions first. Be like, hey, if you and your siblings don't look anything alike, but then you got some odd fella just walking down the street looking exactly like you, maybe it's time to ask a few hard questions to the old daddy-o and mom. But it's hard to ask certain questions, isn't it? That's why I'm here. We can do it together. That's right. Have you had questions about where you came from? Good. It's time to get those answers that you've been searching for today. Let's have that conversation when you're ready today. It's gonna be fun. Oh man, good times. Yeah, dude, if magic shows, fucking man, you could do so many things. Oh man, I'm not promoting anything, but you know me and bank robberies, and I've always, if we lived, this is now a fantasy, I can't obviously do it. It's too many cameras, way too many cameras. But 30, 40 years ago, 70s, 80s, the sweet era of no CCTVs. Oh man. With a doppelganger, bank robberies, forget about it, dude. You'd rob a bank, and meanwhile your doppelganger's somewhere else with the alibis. You can walk in there, no mask, no nothing, politely like a gentleman, ask for the moolah, the cheddar, get your bag, walk out, and sure, they'll come knocking at your door and be like, where were you, Mr. Johnson? You can be like, I was here and there at this place, and you can check because I got alibi. And they'll be like, but we have people at the local bank, so you're walking in there politely like a gentleman asking for bags filled with dough. What do you got to say about that? You're like, hey man, I got 5 to 6 people who can cooperate. And you'll point to those 5, 6 people who were with your doppelganger, fam, down at the local bar, man, till late in the evening, man, right there, dude. Alibi. It's 5 against, the teller. It's 5 against 1. Were there other people in the bank? Choose your time wisely. It won't fly. Nowadays, it's just way too hard, and it's no fun, to be quite honest. So now it's just a fantasy story of mine that, but again, doppelganger in that mix, definitely doable. You know what I mean? Good times. That's how you mix it up. Relationships could get, not for everybody, but I'm just saying, you need to be here and be there. I need somebody to fill in the gap. Who better to fill in the gap while I'm away doing a project than my doppelganger, my trusted doppelganger, the old switcheroo. That marriage is probably going to fall apart. But nonetheless, think of all the possibilities with your doppelganger. Like I said, if you're out there, my doppelganger, dude, just keep on fighting a good fight, man. I don't know how we got to look exactly the same with, but it's wild. We're like long lost cousins, brothers, sisters, family members, all starting with what is it? The collective narrative that we all like to spew is we all originated from Africa. Is that right? Pangea? All came from Africa? People went into different locations? How old are we? Tune in and we'll find out more about you and me and the world together on another exciting episode of Glad You Made It on Monday and next Wednesday and the following Friday after that, because that's how this thing works, baby boys and baby girls. Again, if you've been with me from the get-go, you know what it is. It's just the silliest goose out there trying to have fun, get to know himself and the world around him, interact with as many people, and find out more about life and learn and have a hoot while we're at it too if we can. So you can again find these videos on Instagram. If you like, follow me. It helps your boy out because it is an independent operation, not dependent on any corporations or any backing of that sort. Moving independently, doing it old school, in real life, in person, raw, emotional, putting yourself out there for the world. And you can also find it on Patreon if you'd like to support the show that way as well. It's highly appreciated. But yeah, your subscriptions on Instagram or on YouTube go a long way. It does help drive the algorithm forward in a positive format, of course. And I thank you for all your time. Thank you for being so patient with me. Thank you for opening up your arms and hearts and ears and minds. And yeah, thank you for letting me be a part of your lives. Thank you for being a part of mine. I hope you guys and gals out there have a wonderful start to your weekends. It's midsummer, baby. Enjoy summertime because it's about to get litty even more in the coming months, years, decades. Oh man, going places, baby. Rock and roll Fridays. Love you all. Talk soon. Peace out.